Hello, cherry lovers. It's that time of year again, Thanksgiving. This time I would like to share with you my mother's homemade Southern cornbread duck dressing. This dressing has been in our family for more than 70 years, so stay tuned. Hello, cherry lovers. Once again, we're going to be working on my mother's. This is my recipe now, but I used her recipe for years and years and years. I've actually been making this recipe for more than at least 40 years. And my mom used it far longer than that. But this recipe is one of my family's favorites. And every single year for the past at least 40 years, I'm the designated person to make the homemade cornbread dressing. Now, let me just say this up front. My mom always used duck or Cornish hens. You can use turkey broth, which is very rich and very good, or you can use chicken broth from like chicken thighs, chicken legs. Either way, it will turn out really, really nice. The first thing we're going to work on here is the cornbread. That is the thing that makes it the most amazing, in my opinion. So what we have here, we're going to use 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I've already put the vegetable oil into my cast iron skillet. And you try to remember this. It's important if you use a cast iron skillet. It works so much better, but you can use another pan if you don't have a cast iron skillet. It still turns out really tasty. Also, we're going to use 2 cups of, as you can see here, I have buttermilk self-rising white cornmeal mix. And I've already added my 2 cups of cornmeal into this bowl. Also, we're going to be using 1 1/2 cup of buttermilk. My mom always used buttermilk, and it gives it such a different flavor. If you will try the regular milk versus the buttermilk, you'll see it does taste to me, it tastes so much better. But again, you can use regular milk. You can use 2% milk. It doesn't really matter. It's just that I think that the buttermilk gives it such a much richer flavor. Also, we have right here 2 eggs, slightly beaten. It's a really simple recipe. So we're going to get to this point where we add the cornbread into the skillet. But what I want you to do first is preheat your oven to 425. My oven is already preheated. My 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil is already added to my skillet. The next thing we're going to do is put the cast iron skillet into your oven and heat that oil up. Leave it in there for maybe 3 to 5 minutes and take it out, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. So stay tuned. Okay, right here, I wanted to show this to you because you probably saw this laying on the counter. This is my extra cornbread mix that I've already made. Now, the reason that's there is because I'm actually making a triple batch because I have a really big family. So I'm making a triple batch of cornbread so that I can make a larger batch of dressing. But what I'm showing you is just for one recipe, just simply one recipe. So now, as you can see, I took the skillet out of the oven and it's really nice and hot. And so what we're going to do, we're going to start adding in the ingredients for the cornbread. We have here our buttermilk. We're going to add that in. This is the best dressing, and I've tried different recipes, but this one is the best one that I've tried. I've tried ones that my mother did not use just to see how they would turn out, and everyone seems to think that this is the best one. Now, there's one other thing I'd like to say also. You can add a tablespoon of sugar in here if that's your preference. I've never added sugar to my cornbread dressing because I just love this flavor of the buttermilk. Turn that timer off. Of the buttermilk flavor. So I've added the eggs and I've added the milk. We're just going to stir that up. Now, what we're going to do is take this hot grease. It's hot. Be careful. Don't burn yourself. And we're going to pour that grease right into the cornbread dressing. And then we're going to continue to stir that up. Get that nice and mixed. Doesn't take very long. Very simple cornbread recipe. And the dressing recipe will follow. I will show you what that is. For now, I'm going to pour in my other batch that I've already stirred up, mixed up, added the eggs and milk for my extra Well, I said it was 3, so this is enough. I made enough for 3 cornbread, so I just wanted to add the rest of this in there. I try to get a full skillet each time, so my skillet will hold 1.5, and 1.5 is what I did tonight. I've already baked the 1.5, and that's all you do for the cornbread for your dressing. And then we're going to pour this in here. Don't wait very long while that skillet is still nice and hot. Empty all of your cornbread mix into the skillet. And then we're going to place this in the oven. Mine is a 1.5. This skillet is 1.5, so I'm going to set my timer for a little longer. But for this recipe, you only leave it in, you test your stove, watch your timer, 20 to 30 minutes. This will probably take me, since it is 1.5 batches, it's going to take me about 35 or 40 minutes. But this, I want you to see how beautifully brown this is when you come back, and then I will show you how to add all the rest of the ingredients, and I'm going to show you what the rest of the ingredients are for this amazing duck dressing. So stay tuned. Okay guys, we're back, and if Larry will look over here, you can see my cornbread. It's got a nice golden brown, a little bit darker than golden brown. You don't want it light. If it's too light, then for some reason it doesn't break up really good. But the darker color, I don't mean burnt, but just dark color like this gives it a nice crust on it, so that when you break it up, it just blends really good. Also, the next step that we're going to do, I'm going to show you the ingredients for the dressing and how to put it together. Also, I wanted to let you know, one of the ladies asked me about a chicken stock, in case you want to use like chicken thighs or the whole chicken for your broth or your stock for your dressing. I'm going to post a video showing how to make the canned chicken stock. But for this recipe, we're going to be using a duck broth. So I'm going to come back and show you all the ingredients to put this dressing together. So stay tuned. Okay guys, now this is the part that I really love each year about the dressing, and Larry probably eats at least a quarter of it before it's ever finished. But this is the part we're going to put the cornbread dressing together for you. So the first thing we're going to do here, I have a skillet. I'm going to melt 6 tablespoons of butter. Let's put that on about medium high. And I've got 6 tablespoons of butter. And then while this is melting, I'm going to show you over here. This is my cornbread. And it looks like a little bit more cornbread because it is a little bit more. I actually broke the cornbread up, put it into the pan. I'm going to show you what it looks like one more time. Larry can stay right there. This is the pan of cornbread. And what I simply did was took the cornbread out and broke it up into pieces. And I have multiple cornbread pans because I'm making a large dressing for Thanksgiving. So I actually make about 6 pans of cornbread. So all you do is just take that cornbread, break it up, as you can see, into fine pieces. Mix that up really, really good. And that's all you do for the cornbread. Okay, now over here, I have in this bowl, this is, remember I said 6 tablespoons of butter, but here we got 3 medium onions, chopped up nice and fine. We have 4 stalks of celery, and that's all mixed in together there. So it's already chopped up and put in there. The only thing we're going to do is get this to melt down. Once this gets almost completely melted, I'm just going to pour the onions in there, and then we're going to saute them until they're translucent, which simply means until they're just nice and soft. Also, right here, I've got several jars. This is my homemade chicken stock. This is what I make my own broth and stock with for my dressing. And basically, the way I make that, and you're going to see a video for the chicken stock, because there's one coming out very soon where you can get to watch what the chicken stock ingredients are. But I just take this and I pour that over my dressing, and it's got a great flavor. You can use a whole chicken, you can use turkey broth, you can use Cornish hen is what I talked about at the beginning. My mom loves duck and Cornish hen. Unfortunately, I could not find a duck this year, so I'm simply using the broth from the Cornish hen. So I have here 4.5 jars, but I don't think I'm going to need that much, and you can use it based on how much you have, how much cornbread you have. And the reason I have so much more, this is a little bit more than what you normally use. For the cornbread, for the one recipe, you only use 2.5 cups of stock or broth. And you can buy the already made broth in the store, or you can make your own. Again, it's only 2.5 of these. So that would be 8 and 8 is 16 ounces here, and a half would be 20 ounces. So you'd only need 2.5 jars of that, of the stock. So that would probably equal about less than half of a 32 ounce if you got the 32 ounce container. So the next thing we're going to do is just add our onions and our celery. It's already mixed. Pour that in here and let that saute for about, probably it's going to take a good 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm going to stir this up. Let this get nice and translucent, very soft, cook down, and then I'll be right back to show you how to finish the rest. Okay guys, the next step here, we want to take and pour all of the onions into the dressing mix, the cornbread. It's not dressing yet, right? Okay, let's put this over here. I don't know if I said this yet, but you need to preheat your oven to 400. And my oven is preheating right now. Now, we're going to very carefully pour the stock or broth, whichever one you're using, into the cornbread mix, along with the celery and the onions. And just to make sure I don't over put it in there, you want to take the time to stop and stir that. Well, just like Larry said, that's not that much. Get that mixed up. All right. Now the reason this is taking a lot more broth, remember guys, because I am doing a much larger batch. I have like 3 pans of cornbread in here. Now, mix that up really good. Now, I'm going to add salt and pepper to taste. You can add it to your own taste. I'm not really big on salt. So, whatever you prefer, whatever you like, a little bit, a lot. And this is a pretty good sized batch, but this will probably hold at least 3 teaspoons of pepper for this size dressing. But for the smaller size, only put a teaspoon of dressing for 1 pan, which is the recipe that I'm showing you. 1 pan of one recipe, which is 1 pan. We'll take 1 teaspoon of black pepper, or to your taste, and then about a teaspoon of salt, or to your taste. And you can actually taste this after you put your salt and pepper in there. It actually tastes good already. And it's the broth, believe me, that stock that gives it that great flavor. And I'm going to have to add a little bit more broth to this, because when you bake it, you won't use more than I'm using because you're only doing 1 pan. But you want it to be nice and moist, because when you put it in the oven, it'll bake up just like a pan of cornbread. So Larry, if you'll just hang on 1 second, and I will get 1 more jar. Larry can take you through and look at the right down in there. I wish you guys could smell it. Wish you had smell-o-vision. It smells so good in the house. As a matter of fact, this dressing reminds me so much of my mom, because this is her recipe. And it just smells. I mean, it just smells. I enjoyed it as a child. Smelling that dressing every single holiday. And that's more than enough broth. And that's what you want it to look like. Not soupy, watery, but a little bit soupy like this, just like this, when you add your stock or your broth, so that when you finish stirring it, you'll see a little bit where it looks like it's got a little bit of broth still laying in there. That's a good size pan. And I can see right now, just from looking at it, that I am going to need more pepper, because you want to see at least a little bit of pepper. It's kind of comical. I just thought about it. I don't have my glasses on, so it might be deceiving me. but anyway, I'm sure to be okay. It's about what I normally do. And see how nice and moist that is? It doesn't look dry. You can see that is the perfect consistency right there. That's how you want it to look. That's a great consistency. Move all around the pan, all around the edges, so you can mix all of the cornbread up. And you can give it a taste if you like. Okay. And what I do when I finish this, I actually take the turkey or the duck or the Cornish hens or even the chicken, whatever it is that I use, and I just sit it right on top. But you don't want to do that right now, because the chicken that I sit on top, or the turkey, whatever I'm going to use, is already done. Some people actually take some of the meat and add it in there. I don't. And if there's one thing that I'm sure people are going to say, but that's dressing. She didn't put any sage in it. I do not use sage in my dressing. But I tell you this, if you make this dressing and you leave out the sage and you try it, you will never put sage in it again. Okay. All right, so that is completely and thoroughly mixed. My oven is preheated to 400, and what I'm going to do is pop that right in the oven, and I would say let that cook for about 30 to 40 minutes, but just check on it after about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, to see if it's setting up nicely. And if it's setting up nicely and it's a little bit browned on the top, you don't want it too dark, but you want it lightly browned on the top, then you know it's ready. But we're going to pop that in the oven, set the timer for 30 minutes, and I will be back when it's all done. Okay, guys, I'm going to take the cornbread dressing out now. Oh, it smells so good. All right. Turn that off. Okay, now this is my dressing. I'm just bringing it out. You get to see it. It's got a nice little light brown topping on it. Now the reason I didn't, because I'm going to put this back in the oven and let it cook, but only on Thanksgiving, which is 4 days away. I'm going to pop that in the oven. What I usually do every Thanksgiving is I make 2 dressings, and then I freeze one, and then I put the other one in the freezer for about 2 days, and then I take it out and let it unthaw, and then on the day of Thanksgiving I let it cook. But I just wanted you to see what it looks like. It's got a nice little light brown layer on it. I like mine a little bit darker, but we're not going to do that until Thanksgiving. But I did want to show you what that looks like. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, like, hit the like button. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Bye for now.